Hi everyone, thanks so much for listening to another episode of Dogman Encounters Radio. I'm Vic Cundiff and I'll be your host for the show. Before we bring on tonight's guest, if you've had a Dogman encounter and would like to speak with me about it, whether in private or on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. I'd love to hear from you. If you've had a Sasquatch sighting and would like to be a guest on Bigfoot Eyewitness Radio, please go to bigfooteyewitness.com and submit a report. All right, let's bring on tonight's guest. Tonight's guest is Ryan. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Vic, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good, but more importantly, how are you?
Doing A-okay.
Good. Ryan, please give us a brief bio on yourself.
All right. Well, I'm from good old state of Missouri. Go back and forth between Mexico and just like to travel quite a bit. So I'm consistently traveling back and forth between the United States and Mexico quite a bit. This time I'm taking a 2-year hiatus from Mexico. So came back, take care of some loose ends that I had to take care of, and just been out and about biking and doing any kind of adventure, canoeing and kayaking and whatever else Missouri has to offer. Since this state is really famous for its trails and for its lakes and rivers and many outdoors activities. So I'm consistently always looking for whatever adventure that I can find.
Well, it sure sounds to me like you stay awfully busy.
As much as I can. I try to make sure that I have enough rec time for sure.
Yeah, sounds to me like you definitely do. Nothing wrong with that. Since you're going to talk about experiences both you and your girlfriend had tonight, what were your thoughts on dogmen and things that go bump in the night before you had your encounter? And what were your girlfriend's thoughts on that?
Well, I've always had a fascination with history and with especially with anthropology, and humanity in general, as where our origins and things of that nature. So I've always been fascinated with understanding just the historical significance of why humanity here is on the earth, and what other type of beings were here either before us, with us, and looks like I've always had always a fascination also with Bigfoot, and like since I was a kid, I always liked to read about it, and as far as Patterson and Gimli, I think. So I heard their tale, and so got to see the video, and I was always convinced that there was something of that nature, but maybe not like in my region or area. So I don't think I'd ever get a chance to encounter one. And then when I started hearing people stories about it, I don't think I ever wanted to encounter one. And but as far as dogman concerned, honestly, never. It's a recent one for me. I just started now getting a gist that people are actually encountering such creatures, and I think I heard the beast of Bray Road and LBL. So those were the two famous ones that I knew about. But I just thought it was people maybe confusing Bigfoot or something like that with one of those creatures or something like that. So I didn't really put too much credibility in that. I just was thinking, well, maybe they just got confused and that's what they saw. But the more and more that I started hearing and reading about these encounters, I realized that there's a good possibility that that's what they were seeing. And so actually I've always had a belief in such things. So my girlfriend, not so much. She was very adamant that no such creature ever existed, and that it was complete fantasy, and that was just my overactive imagination, and I like to hear fantasy stories when I go to sleep. In a nutshell.
Huh. Well, as the listeners are going to find out, that all changed 2 days ago.
Yes, sir, it did.
Yeah, it definitely did. From our conversation in the it sounds to me like you thrive on adrenaline rushes. With that in mind, was having that encounter that you two had 2 days ago a good thing in your mind or a bad thing?
Well, it makes me a little more, to have more of a keen eye now instead of being oblivious when I'm just bicycling. Because, for the most part, where we live at is a very safe environment. You can really only get yourself in danger if you put yourself in danger. So, I mean, it's live in a pretty safe environment. So like this, I think this next time that I decide to go in probably a couple of days, I'll make sure to be having more eye for detail on my surroundings and that nature. Because we're usually biking during the evening anyways. So that's when I believe these kind of creatures are active.
Oh yeah, after having that experience that we're talking about right now, yeah, I've got no doubts that you're going to be super vigilant when you do go back out there.
So I was before, but like I said, I've never seen anything. So I was like, I never really pay attention to it. And especially in this, we live in a semi-metro area. So, I would definitely wouldn't imagine that something like that would actually exist in this area for sure.
It's so hard to imagine that anything like that would be out there unless you know about cryptids and the fact that they definitely do exist. But having said that, you've got several experiences to share with us tonight. Let's get into it. Please tell us all about them. Give us every last detail that comes to mind.
All right. Well, we usually go biking, my girlfriend and I, quite extensively. So we usually go for the last couple of years. We've been going 3 or 4 times a week. And one of the times we were biking, we started biking from my house, and we made it to just a little park that has a lake, and that's usually like our stopping point before we get onto the trail. And we usually take a break there, bathroom break or water break or whatever, and then we'll usually get on the trail afterwards. And we take a couple breaks in between before we actually make it to like the main trail. So it's like a system of small trails that lead to the major trail. So and that major trail, it usually ends up that goes right along parallel to the Missouri River. So on that particular time, like we made it to we usually go to a bluff, and this bluff has, and it's say probably a couple hundred feet high, that overlooks the river. And we usually go up there and have a picnic and bike up there. We bike to the bluff, and we usually have a picnic or whatever. And on that particular day, by the time we're wrapping it up and we were getting ready to walk back down from the bluff, and we started hearing kind of some rustling and what would sound like something imitating an owl. And it wasn't coming from one direction; it was coming from like 3 different directions, so almost like in a triangular. It was almost like it was audibly triangular, because you could hear it coming from like three different points, and it would mimic an owl, and then you could hear a hoot from another area, and then like 30 seconds later you hear another hoot from another area. And they were consistently doing this for, I would say, a couple minutes, and we were both pretty. I don't think my girlfriend got the idea that it could be something like that, but it was like I just knew that there was something odd about the sounds, because they didn't sound like they were actually coming from owl. It sounded like they were being mimicked as some kind of form of communication or something like that, like maybe letting them know that, or whoever or whatever that was there, that we were in the area, because it was pretty loud. Like it was really loud, so you could hear it echo throughout the valley for sure. So we got pretty spooked by it and started coming down. More so than my girlfriend. Like I said, she didn't really believe in anything like that, so I think she just took it in stride as something maybe a little odd, but nothing to be worried about. But I was definitely worried though, for sure. So, but yeah, that was our first experience with something strange out in the woods for sure. There's definitely animal activity out there quite a bit. So I think one time my girlfriend almost got hit by a deer. It was probably like a good 8-point buck that that got spooked and came out of the woods close to the river. And I think a couple, maybe not even 5 or 6 inches more, and she probably would have got hit head on by that buck for sure. So there is definitely animal activity out there. So wouldn't be a far cry or a far stretch for something like that to exist. There's plenty of water and food and whatever else out there to maintain existence for sure. So that was our first. I would call it as the first experience, because to me it sounded definitely like out of the ordinary. And so we wrapped it up and we just came home, and there was nothing else special about that day, that evening, besides what we usually hear. So going on to my next experience. Again, we were back on the trail again, coming from the same route that we did on the last experience. And my girlfriend, we were on the way back from biking our usual routes that we did. I think this time we went to a different destination, but we ended up being, back on the same route. And, my girlfriend, I guess she was lagging behind me. I didn't realize she was lagging behind me. I thought she was right by my side, but I guess she took a break while we were biking and didn't tell me that she was going to take a break. So I just kept on biking. So by the time I looked around, she wasn't nowhere in sight. And, so I was really concerned. So I started biking and pedaling as fast as I could back to where the last time I saw her at. And by the time I caught up with her, she was biking, pedaling super fast back to where, we pretty much met in the same area. And she had told me that she was frightened because she had heard I guess when I took off or when she was lagging behind, she sat down and took a rest on a bench. So she said that she heard a guttural growl from behind her, and that she was super spooked and she couldn't figure out what it was. And she just got on her bike and started pedaling as fast as she could. And, until we ran into each other on the trail, and she explained what happened to her. And, we both were, I was generally concerned for her safety. So we made sure that we got back, we pedaled back home as fast as we could from that evening. It was pretty, I would say probably around 11 o'clock at night when we heard, and there was definitely a lot of activity as far as coyotes were concerned. And there usually is on that trail. So, some nights they're more active than others. So that was a good experience. And ever since then, we have always had a little bit, I've always been a little more concerned as far as what is out there. Cause there's only certain animals that would be able to make that kind of sound. And it wasn't from a coyote and it wasn't from a dog as well. So had it been for something else. So that was the second encounter as far as, something odd on our trail. And all that leading up to the most current, and this was actually a visual sighting instead of just an audible one. So, we actually started up a little later during the day, in the afternoon, and we were biking from my house to the lake, and then from the lake we hit the trail, had a good time. We were driving, happy as can be, nothing, no situations. There's plenty of people on the trail that day. It was nice, sunny, beautiful day. We went back to our favorite little spot and enjoyed a picnic. And then around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, we're done. And we decided to just go ahead and go back. And on the way back on the trail, it was a very lit up evening that night. There was a full moon, so we could still see some visibility, but it wasn't. There's some places that you can't see because it's covered by trees, forestry. So we were biking, just carefree, no worries. My girlfriend didn't have a light on that evening because of the moon. So she wasn't really concerned about having her light on, but I did have my light on, and my flashlight was low on batteries. So it really wasn't wasn't enough light for me to really see 100%, right in front of me. But, when we were biking, something, like I said, my girlfriend was in front of me, and maybe about 7 feet in front of her, something crossed, in 2 bounds, cleared the path or the trail, and from one side of the woods to the other side of the woods, in less than a half a second, in 2 bounds, it was there, and we could tell that it was bipedal for sure. So it wasn't a quadruped, it was bipedal. And she was able to see long stringy hair and a black silhouette, as far as it looked like a dog silhouette. And I was able to see it too, but I wasn't able to see the silhouette as far as the facial silhouette. I could just see that something about 4 to 5 feet leapt in front of us in about 2 bounds and cleared it in less than a half a second. And, I actually got off the bike. She got on the bike and started biking, but I actually stopped and actually tried to look. But with the flashlight that I had, I couldn't really physically see without having to go in the woods and actually look and hunt for that whatever creature that was. And I wasn't going to. And by the time my curiosity subsided, I was like, let me get on my bike and get out of here, because I actually started to get a little bit concerned for my safety. So, like I said, this would be the first time I think I've ever seen anything that I can explain. So I was definitely genuinely concerned to get out of there as fast as possible. So we started biking as fast as we could. And we were discussing along the way, like what it could possibly be, but we weren't 100% there's no bears in this area. Everything else is quadrupeds. So, and they're like maybe not even a foot or 2 to 3 feet high at the most. So there's nothing in the 4.5, 5 foot category that's all jet black, that has hair, and that has the silhouette of a dog. So it definitely excludes anything else that possibly could be. So, but on the way back, we could definitely hear a lot of coyote activity that night, that evening, and they were pretty active in various parts. So we were howling just to see if we could get a response back from the coyotes, and they definitely were responding to us and even honing in into our location. So they were definitely active that night. So it was a prime evening. I said it was perfect. Like, it was clear skies. The moon was full. There was definitely a lot of animal activity that night. So it was definitely a perfect night for something like that to be out and about. But yeah, we were definitely spooked by it because we've never seen anything that we could never explain. And I think that my girlfriend finally changed her opinion on what type of creatures could possibly exist. So she was searching, and she started seeing that there is definitely more than meets the eye, and that there's possibility for such things to exist. So yeah, so that happened a couple days ago. So we were definitely still thinking about it, and I figured I'd go ahead and make the report because never seen anything like that before. So we were definitely concerned about it. It was maybe somebody else seen something like this, and from what we saw on a BFRO site, that somebody had made or reported a sighting of what they saw, something similar to what we saw back in 2000. So that was about 19 years ago, but it's on BFRO's website. But the thing is, it doesn't even describe what a Bigfoot is. So it actually sounds like what they saw was almost similar to what we saw, and was about not even a couple miles away from where we were. So, it's almost in the same region. That sighting was almost in the same region that we were in. So, like I said, their sighting sounds almost similar to our sighting. Whether it was on the BFR's website or not, it sounds like it was like what we saw. But yeah, that's what we saw. And like I said, we were definitely surprised, for sure.
Oh, I'm sure you were. Did it ever seem to take notice of you?
I don't know. We were able to, I stopped. She kept on pedaling, and I actually stopped. I got off my bike and went to search for it, but I was hesitant to get in the woods and try to search for it. I was like, I'm going to stay where I'm at and see if I can actually see some eye shine or something like that. Some reflection from its pupils or something like that. Just kind of like how you could see coyotes at night, or some other raccoons or whatever nocturnal creatures or nocturnal animals are out and about. You can usually see an eye shine, but I'm not for sure if it actually even stood there or it just completely took off running into, to wherever it was going to. It was definitely something unexplainable because, like I said, it was jet black, about 4 to 5 foot tall. I wasn't able to see if it had hair or if it was the silhouette of a dog. But as fast as it went, and as tall as it was, and being jet black, there's not much else it could be. And like I said, my girlfriend, she doesn't even believe in any of these things. So for her to actually say, yeah, it had a silhouette of a dog face and it had hair on it and it was jet black, about 4 to 5 foot tall, then we pretty much saw the same thing. So I just didn't see the complete silhouette of it. And I just saw like, I saw something on bipedal, 4 to 5 feet tall, jet black, crossed the path in less than a half a second. It's pretty fast. So it wasn't a bear. I mean, and there's not even bears in this area for sure. So there's not much else it could be. I mean, everything else is quadrupeds, or if it's some crazy guy that wanted to dress up for Halloween early, I don't know what else it could be.
Did the fact that it was so small lessen the creep factor for you, or was it still pretty creepy even though it was such a small one?
Pretty creepy, but fascinating, because the area that we live is a semi-metropolitan area. So the fact that anything like that could actually exist is pretty fascinating to me. So it definitely gets my curiosity going. And for the next time I decide to go back, I want to be a little more vigilant, especially at nighttime, and see, be a little more aware of my surroundings. I mean, because even though those two experiences were audible, like we visually never saw anything. But this time that we did was definitely an eye opener for us, and it keeps us. We were actually going to camp out on the on the trail, but I don't think my girlfriend wants to anymore.
She doesn't. Why not?
I don't know, but I want to try to convince her though, because I want to.
Yeah, you're definitely an adrenaline junkie. I've got to give it to you.
The bike trail is definitely it's a great trail. So I mean, it's a definitely good experience. It's an experience that people just don't forget. It sneaks around so many miles, and it cuts the state in half. And you can see the river, not even it's right next to you. So it's it's definitely an experience that you can't forget. So it's a great trail for sure for biking. So, but I would never ever imagine that something like that would actually be even in the area. I would just imagine maybe someplace like Mississippi where there's more woods, or in the backwoods of Kentucky or Tennessee or some other place like that. But not here in semi-metropolitan Missouri, where there are some woods, but it's not like deep woods. And if there is, you really have to go out of your way to get there. So this is definitely an eye opener for me, for sure.
Well, I'm sure it was. And as you found out the hard way, yeah, they're definitely in a lot of places you wouldn't expect them to be. Having said that, it's about time for us to get out of here. But before we do you have any closing comments you'd like to share?
Well, that people keep an open mind, because some people close their mind to such possibilities. And for people to remember that up until about 150,000 years ago, there were other species of hominids that existed prior to us. And during our time, a brief time here on the earth, there have been at least 6 to 7 different hominids that existed or coexisted or somewhat existed here in the world. So, you got to definitely keep an open mind to the fact that there are other types of creatures that are in the realm of mythology, but only that and as we think of ourselves as the superior being, and that we close our minds to the fact that there were other types of hominids and beings that were here before us, and there's a good possibility that they exist to this day, and we just they keep away from us, considering that what type of beings we are sometimes. So that would be my recommendation to people, just to keep their minds open.
Well, that's all well said. Ryan, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing those experiences with us. I really do appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Thanks again so much. Have a great night. If you've had a Dogman encounter of your own and would like to speak with me, whether in private or on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. I'd love to hear from you.